First off, good morning, and thank you so much for joining our first SA Digital Connects Community Connects event. We are going to be having this session quarterly. I know I meet with different community groups here and there individually, but this is going to be, once a quarter, all of us together to share updates, but also you all to learn best practices from each other and stuff. So we're so excited to be having this new forum. Just wanted to set some ground rules, I guess, is we did mute everyone just because there's a lot of people on this call. So if you have a question or whatever, just raise your hand on it and Michelle and I will get to you. And then it is being recorded so that we could share it with our stakeholders who weren't able to attend, because there's a lot of people out on vacation for the upcoming holiday and stuff. So just FYI, I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. But we are excited to kick off. So we have today just a welcome. Then we were going to have Luisa Caso, our board chairwoman, attend, but she had something come up this morning, so I'll just kind of fill in her place. And we're honored to have the presence of Councilwoman Adriana Rocha Garcia, who will give us some remarks. And then we'll kind of go into the updates. We have some interactive polls that we wanted to give input on, and then general Q&A. We hope to wrap up. We want to be respectful of time by 9:50, 9:55, and then. But again, y'all all already know that y'all can ping me at any time. Y'all have my email address. I think y'all have my cell phone. So if there's something that we need to continue the conversation on later, we can absolutely do that. So this was Luisa's spiel, but I'm just going to fill in. You all know how we are set up. Luisa Caso is our board chairwoman. Brian Dillard, who is the Chief Innovation Officer at the City of San Antonio, is our vice chair. And Laura Cole with Bibliotech is our board secretary. I'm the executive director. And then, we partner with Greater SATX as our fiscal agent. Real quick point of clarity on that. The reason why we partner with Greater SATX is because SA Digital Connects does not want to be around forever. We want to have all residents connected by 2025, 2026. Mission is accomplished, and then we go on and solve other problems. We did not set ourselves up to be a nonprofit that is going to be around forever. We're on a mission, and then go on to the next thing. So next slide. We all know of all the great things. We didn't want to dive into too much detail here, but there's been so many wonderful things that have happened that has led up to the creation of SA Digital Connects and our collective digital equity plan. Obviously, the community orgs, all of you all have played such a pivotal role, especially in creating the digital equity plan. We would not be moving the needle on this. And I'm saying we, not as SA Digital Connects, we as all of us, if it wasn't for all of us collectively coming together to do this for our community. So, quick highlights, we launched the digital equity plan in September. We also know that the state broadband office, finally, Texas got a state broadband office, woohoo, a couple years behind some of the other states, but that also launched last September, and we've been partnering very closely with them. We have had great conversations with CPS Energy. We have also pulled together our internet service providers partners. We know that they're going to be essential to helping close the digital divide, especially in the South and West and East parts of town. So, we actually put all of them in a room at City Council chamber, and the councilwoman was with us. I mean, it was the first meeting of its kind to say, sure, there might be sometimes a love and hate relationship, but you know what? We're all here together. We're all here at the table. And how are we going to solve this problem for our community? So it's good that we're kind of having those level setting conversation and coming together in partnership. Next slide. And obviously there's a whole lot more work to do. Again, our mission is a fully connected San Antonio and Bexar County by 2025, 2026, and it's going to take all of us to get there. Next slide, please. And so with that, I wanted to turn it over to Dr. Councilwoman Adriana Rocha Garcia to give us a couple of remarks.
Thank you so much, Marina, and thank you everyone for being on the meeting this morning. I know that there are lots of things going on and you could probably be doing something else, but you chose a time to invest in your community, your extended community, and I can't thank you enough for it. I also just want to acknowledge that there was a horrible tragedy that just happened earlier, passing through our community where some migrants, and I just ask that you please keep them in your prayers. They were found in my district in a rural area. And so for those of you who are working on efforts to help them later, I appreciate your work, and just the rest of you, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. They were seeking opportunity like many of our residents. So thank you again, Marina, for inviting me. Thank you for all the work that you and Luisa and Brian and Michelle and the entire team really do on a day-to-day basis. You all keep this at the forefront. We've been talking about digital divide for many years. It's, to me, the new form of redlining, digital redlining, unfortunately. And so as we started thinking about this and thinking through this, who can we involve? What partners are the right ones to bring to the table? You all are them. And it's going to take a concentrated effort by all of you. So again, I just can't thank you enough for being here this morning and for committing to be here quarterly so that we could learn from each other and come up with maybe some innovative ideas that we haven't heard about. Beyond access to technology and devices, specifically like mobile phones, or even when we're thinking about the digital literacy competency, we have to consider affordable and reliable broadband service. And so that is still a challenge that is faced by a lot of the residents, and particularly the residents that I serve. You all are aware of the Office of Innovation's Digital Inclusion Report Card, probably. I'll give you an example. My district earned a B-, so 81%. We had an overall C+ in connectivity score and a B+ in access to devices. When you look at that score, it's not a great one. It's better than I thought I expected, but it's not good, right? Digital literacy, I think we're ranked at a B-. And so we're certainly living in this information era. Mobile devices, access to information is readily available from the palm of our hands. However, poverty and income are also realities that we unfortunately still encounter. And I was talking to Marina right before this, and we were talking about how rural the community that I represent still is. And so when we start thinking and talking to our lawmakers, our state specifically, we've got to remind them that, for instance, District 3 and District 4 are the largest districts in San Antonio, and we still have a lot of rural areas. And as a representative of this community and the many underserved neighborhoods that I represent, it's true for a lot of residents that their first introduction to technology was not at home. It was actually at school. And we have a lot of young children now who are growing up, yes, with mobile devices, basically a computer in the palm of their hands, and they're much more savvy than their parents. But I also have a lot of students, a lot of residents of mine that are being raised by grandparents. And so there's definitely also a generational gap that is closely tied to a family's overall socioeconomic well-being. And so digital literacy, access to broadband, et cetera, this is all a part of it. So for those families that are experiencing and have experienced decades of generational poverty and income inequality, this disadvantage continues to keep them from accessing a better quality of life and more opportunity. They struggle basically to meet basic needs, food, shelter, electricity. Sometimes they have to choose which utilities to pay. And in the digital inclusion survey and assessment that was conducted by our Office of Innovation, we saw a breakdown per district. We broke it down per income level, by race and ethnicity. And I think that it would be interesting even to factor in the age group breakdown so that we analyze how this connectivity, how competency, how access and basically varies across income levels. We have come to realize, obviously, that in technology and in this world, the internet can not only be an efficient communication tool, but it's a necessity. In some households, though, it's still considered a luxury. So in order to engage with the residents in my community, I know that we have to connect through different methods that fit their needs. It might not be social media for all of them. We have traditional methods of communication that we still use, literally going door to door, knocking on doors, using door hangers, using robocalls, but that can't be the norm. And so I just, again, in closing, want to say thank you for being willing to step up and help and not let any more communities be left behind. And your support of SA Digital Connect to me means the world, because you are here to collectively solve a problem that has gone far too much without any attention. So Marina, thank you. Those are all the comments that I have, and I will be listening in, and I appreciate being brought into the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you. And I did just want to acknowledge again the work that Councilwoman Rocha Garcia has done. I mean, she's been a consistent champion of this issue on the dais. And so thank you for being here today. And thank you for addressing our community orgs and letting us know and reiterating that it is going to take all of us. I mean, this tackling the digital divide is not easy work. It's complex. If it was easy, it would have been solved a long time ago, right? But we've all, you know, and there's so many people on this Zoom call today who have been pushing this agenda for so many years, right? And so we're only here because of that, you know, and because of that foundation that was laid. And so now we have to carry it across the finish line. And so, you know, but it is going to take all of us. So thank you again, Councilwoman, for being here and helping us out with that. So moving on to SA Digital Connect's updates, you know, I think many of you all probably attended the last September launch, but I just want to make sure to take a second to recalibrate everyone. This is our scope of work. One is that we built a public-private community collaboration, and it is so important that each of those sectors are represented, right? We have the public sector, the city and the county, the private sector, you know, the companies in town, the community groups, all of us. You know, there was, I think, 175 community orgs that provided input into the digital equity plan. So together we built our community's digital equity plan. So we could kind of mark a check mark on that. And you all know that the plan is online, available for anyone to see. And, you know, it's funny because we do get pinged from other Texas cities and counties who are kind of like, how did y'all do this? Like, how did y'all pull together this collective group? And I think if there's one thing about San Antonio is that we do work together. Like when we need to tackle something, we can all work together and push the mission forward. So that this is an example of that happening. Now the work is about implementing the digital equity plan, right? We didn't just create a plan to sit on a shelf. You know, now is the tough stuff of implementing it. And so what that looks like is obviously we know about the infrastructure bill funding. And so really making sure that we're all tracking those dollars to come from the federal level to the state level and come to our local level. There's a lot of intricacies with the infrastructure bill grant funding, you know, and we also know that a chunk of it is going to go to the state. And so that is going to also take a lot of collaboration and a lot of teamwork to make sure San Antonio and Bexar County gets the funds that we need to adequately address our digital divide. I would say implementing also means partnering with our internet service provider partners and making sure that they're glued in. We've seen so many of them match local dollars in other cities, and we're saying, hey, y'all need to do that here too, you know, and stuff. And so really pushing them to be in the game and make sure that they're connecting the neighborhoods too. And then finally, tracking and reporting progress along the way. We have our dashboard that we launched last March. And, you know, and has, you know, right now at this point, we're really tracking dollars coming in. And, but as things are getting more robust, as dollars are coming in and grants are being received, then, you know, I think the dashboard will be a little bit more alive. Next slide. So I'm not sure. I did want to level set on this. I don't know if y'all have seen what we say, what SA Digital Connects does and does not do. Again, we say our scope is three things. One, we created the plan. Now we're implementing the plan and we're tracking and reporting progress along the way. What we do not do is all the public funds that we're talking about, none of that will ever go to or through SA Digital Connects. That public funds are going to go straight to the organizations, nonprofit organizations, internet service providers who are actually doing the work. We like to make sure that we're very clear on that. SA Digital Connects is not going for those grant funds, nor will we be distributing them. That is not our role. We're just making sure that those funds come to our community. We are now this year fully funded by the private sector. So the public funds is not going to, I just want to make sure that we're very clear that that is not going to come to or through SA Digital Connects. Next slide. Again, to make sure we're all level set on our goals, obviously we want to make sure everyone has access to affordable and reliable internet at speeds of 100 over 100. That's hard. I think now the federal level just set out the new standard of 100 over 20, which is great too. Again, many of y'all may have heard me say we have an operating model that a household has 4 people in it, right? And we want both parents to be able to work from home, the student to access school stuff, and the abuela to be there shopping for groceries for her family. And we want all of them to be able to have adequate bandwidth to do the things that they need to do. Obviously, device access is important for us. And then digital literacy, right? Because people can be connected, but may not know still how to sign up for an email address or access city services that they need to. So there is that whole education component, which I know so many of y'all are intimately familiar with. And so that is going to take all of us pushing on that point too. Next slide. This visual is always great. I think probably many of y'all have already seen it because of the digital equity plan. But I will tell you, when I share this, it is, like the councilwoman said about digital redlining. I mean, it's clear as day, right? We could visually see it on this map. And so it's important for us to keep at the forefront and see how people who are lacking internet connectivity, I mean, how it keeps this San Antonio on the top of the charts for the highest inequity, and for the highest poverty level. And empowering people with internet access can open doors for, applying for jobs, for applying for college, for telehealth appointments. I know I'm going to be preaching to the choir, but y'all all already know this stuff, but I do like to show this visual again, just because it is so powerful on the current state of the digital divide here for us. These headlines are also important, and these headlines specifically are also going to be very important for us to share at the state level, because we know that a lot of the state's priorities are rural Texas, but we have to show that I mean, this is the reality for San Antonio, is that we are always we are one of the most impoverished major U.S. city, that we have a high inequity among our residents. And so when we arm people with internet access, that is some of the foundational work that can help change some of these headlines, so we're not seeing them anymore. So it's a frustrating thing that we've seen these headlines year over year, and hopefully we're going to be the work that we're all doing is moving the needle to changing that. All right, so I wanted to give y'all some quick updates on what has been happening for some of these bullet points. So for the federal level, and I am going to run through them quickly just because I know I have met with some of you all individually. However, if there's something you want to further elaborate on, you all know how to find me, and I'm happy to share details. But I am going to intentionally keep this part high level. So at the federal level, we did meet with NTIA back in, I believe, February, And we built some great relationships with them there, talked to them about the funds coming up. Actually, the councilwoman was with us during that meeting. And since then, because of the relationships that we've built, we have talked to them further after the NOFO was released in mid-May, clarifying some of the rules and stuff. So it was good that that relationship was established, so that when a lot of this grant funding is coming out, we're pinging them and saying, clarify this for us, and stuff. So that's been helpful. At the state level, like I mentioned, we have built a very strong, solid relationship with the state broadband office. We loop in both our city and our county partners to join in on those meetings with us. We are tracking a lot of the state funding grants that will be coming out soon. As you all know, the state came out with its statewide digital equity plan. We were happy to see that SA Digital Connects was mentioned, but we are just working with them on what do we do next, because they point to San Antonio and Bexar County a lot as an example city, and we're excited about that. But we don't want to also just sit around and wait forever. We're talking to them on what can we do next? How can we partner on pilots and stuff like that? So we're excited to keep the energy and the momentum going, and are also just really excited about the good relationship we've built with them. We are also part of a Texas Cities and Counties collaborative where we share best practices with other cities and counties. I often say our team's motto is to be helpful, right? We want to be helpful, and we obviously know that the digital divide impacts a lot of Texas. And so if there are ways that we can share best practices to other cities and counties, we're absolutely doing that, because also too, we never know when those other cities and counties can be helpful for us, especially as we're going at the state level. Let me see. The state broadband office also recently talked about the CPF funds, and they have I think is a little over 500 million. A couple of those millions have been allocated, but there's going to be a chunk of funding, and those rules are going to be coming out in early October is where they were targeting. So we're definitely keeping track on that. At the local level, we've worked with the City of San Antonio's innovation team, and specifically the Economic Development and Workforce Committee, on the $6.9 million that were designated in the ARPA funds. And so, still working through on how those dollars will be spent. But also, we have an upcoming budget season, and we're going to be working with the council members and saying, how do we increase that? Because, we know that a lot of the funds are going to come from the federal and state level, but our local city and county have to have skin in the game too, right? And have enough funds to be able to match potentially whatever needs to happen for a pilot. We have also worked with the city and county both on issuing an RFP that will come out here soon. And with that, we have identified the census tracts that are not connected, and we're going to be putting that out there. And I'm not sure if Brian's on the call. There's too many people for me to scroll, but Brian, if you are, feel free to raise your hand. We're going to put that RFP out to the internet service providers and say, you tell us the innovative ways that you want to solve for this census tract and getting them connected. Maybe it is fiber, maybe it is a digital literacy campaign, maybe it is an affordability issue and stuff. And so we're excited to do that, because it's going to get us some tangible information back from our internet service provider partners on their expansion plans and the ideas they have to solve for the parts of town that are not connected. And then grant tracking, we know that the digital equity grant is coming up. Actually, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit, we've gotten a lot of feedback that we want some, I think we asked in our survey if we wanted some more grant strategy sessions, and we heard y'all loud and clear that y'all do. So we're going to be pulling the groups together. One of our team members is a gentleman named Michael Kleeman, and he comes from the University of California at San Diego. And he's wonderful in that he actually is in some of these meetings writing these rules. And so I'm going to have him come to a next meeting and explain to you all their thinking behind the grants, who's eligible, who's not. He's just a wealth of information that we can ask some of these tactical questions to, because you all know if when you're seeing some of these grant applications, it's kind of wonky legal stuff. And so kind of getting clarity on that is something that he's offered to help our community orgs with. And then there was another grant that will drop in the chat that we were made aware of too. Let's see, we also have the map submission process. So we all know that the internet service providers will be providing their coverage maps to the FCC by September. I think in general, we're all kind of, I'll just say this nicely, we're all a little curious on how accurate those maps will be. So we are gearing up for a potential challenge process to those maps. You know, this is not a bad thing. It is just saying, well, hey, internet service providers, you're saying this neighborhood is covered, but we also know different. So, but we'll also have to back that up with data. And so we'll be coordinating some efforts on how we make sure that true coverage map is also submitted to the FCC. There is going to be a new app to track speed test that the results will be given straight to the FCC. And so SA Digital Connects is partnering with the City of San Antonio's innovation team on, okay, how do we do that? How do do we have a speed test campaign, and go track the speed test, because, they may say, the Quintana neighborhood is covered, and we're saying, but it's not, like, these are the speeds, and so there's going to be that challenge process that we're going to work through, and we're thinking creatively on how to do that. Obviously, y'all have seen and know that the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, rolled out a couple months back. It's a cumbersome process. Actually, I think 2 weeks ago, we heard loud and clear from our community orgs that, when y'all are signing people up, I mean, that is taking a lot of community orgs bandwidth and dollars and people and resources. And so we turned around and gave the internet service providers that feedback and said, what are you all doing, internet service providers, to kind of help out with this, kind of the capacity building for nonprofits and orgs. And one of the internet service providers acknowledged that they're hearing this across the board. And so we said, hey, if there's other innovative ways that we could partner to help our community orgs and nonprofits sign more people up, let's think through that. Is it internet service providers partnering with one or two nonprofit orgs to really hit the ground running on signing people up? What are best practices being done around the nation? But we know that a lot of what's keeping a lot of people from internet, especially kind of in our urban core, is affordability. And so, and while the subsidy is welcome, it's just a very cumbersome process to sign up. And so we're really just pushing on all angles to see how we can make that easier for everyone. And then digital literacy, we know this is the world and the work that a lot of you all are involved in. And so, I'll be open here, and if there are specific ways that we can help push that further, let us know. We're open to that feedback, and open to suggestions on helping out specifically with digital literacy. Again, we know that there's so many wonderful community groups who are doing great work here. And where we have seen our scope of helping out is honestly our resources page on our website. It's the most visited page on our website, where you can see, Oasis or Senior Planet provides digital literacy training for older adults, and so a lot of people use that page to see, where can I find refurbished devices? Where can I find digital literacy training? So we're kind of convening this knowledge center, if you will, of all the wonderful help that y'all are providing in different ways. But if there's other ways we could help out with digital literacy in particular, let us know. We're all ears. Next slide. Oh, this was the digital equity programs overview. I will send this out in email. Obviously, it's too small to read, but this is another big bucket of funding that is going to go straight to community orgs and nonprofits. And so we want to make sure that as a collective city and county, we're being strategic on how we're going for those funds. If there's ways that we could help out with a letter of support to go for those funds, we want to be y'all support and cheerleaders when applying. And again, we are happy to help host some strategy sessions to make sure that the applications have the meat and potatoes behind them, and that we can get that funding here to our community. Next slide. All right, so all about the activation piece, and I think I've alluded to some of this earlier. We do want to update our resources page. Again, it's the most visited site on our website. So we did ask you all in an email that was sent out earlier this week on the digital inclusion areas that you all help out with, whether it is providing free Wi-Fi or refurbished devices. And then we're also asked y'all what parts of town they're in. I think Michelle's dropping that in chat. And so if y'all haven't had a chance to fill it out, please do so. We'd love to make sure that we have a comprehensive overview, again, so that we could push that out to the community so that they can see how they can plug in. We are going to be planning for community activation and participation during the city and county budget process, which is coming up. We are gearing up to be meeting one-on-one with our council members and county commissioners and pushing them hard, on saying, hey, the city and the county need more funds, and here's why. Coordination with SA Digital Connects on federal and state funding opportunities. So again, the first idea was, hey, let's bring in our team member, Michael Kleeman, who was so helpful in us understanding the Middle Mile grant and the BEAD grant, and talking to him about the digital equity grant and some of these other grants that are coming up. And then contributing to the SA Digital Connects dashboards with stats and data. So what that looks like is, if you all, as these grants are coming to fruition, letting us know about it. So that way we can track overall how we're closing the digital divide. Right now, we know 20% of households are not connected. How do we get that down to 15, to 10, to 5? And let's count down together on that. Next slide. So we did get some poll questions out to you all, and I'm going to read some of the results. So give me 1 second. I think the first poll question was, is your organization enrolling residents for the ACP program? And we saw that 5 out of 18 of y'all said that y'all are enrolling people in the ACP program. And so, please share feedback with us as to why or why not, and if you are enrolling people in the ACP program and y'all are having headaches with it, let us know, because that is where we can help take that feedback and activate on it. It is a federal process. And so I'm going to be transparent. We don't have I'm not sure how much we can change that federal process. However, if we could partner with the internet service providers to help provide more bandwidth and capacity building for y'all's organizations, maybe that's something that we can partner on with, so for those of you all who are enrolling, great. And if you all need help with that, tell us. And for those of y'all who are not enrolling people in ACP program, tell us why not. Maybe it's just not part of y'all's scope or mission, which is fine. We just need to know. It would be helpful for us to know why or why not. And then the second poll question, give me a second. was, sorry. Oh, it was about, I'm going off memory here, sorry. It was about the grant application. And if y'all needed help, wanted help with the grant coordination and strategy. And we heard loud and clear that you all do want that. So that is something that we will be incorporating into our offerings to further support you all. And I forget what the next slide is, but let's see. I think we're going to go into some general Q&A. If y'all had a question, just ping Michelle or I, just because, you know, taking everyone off mute and stuff is going to get sticky. Hold on one second. 2 questions that we did get emailed on were this. One was about, will public funds be going to SA Digital Connects? And again, I did want to reiterate, SA Digital Connects is not going to get any of the infrastructure bill funds and digital equity grant funds. We definitely want to support you all in going for those funds, but that is not where we are receiving funds. Again, we, as of this year, are going to be 100% private sector funded, you know, from the USAs and the Toyota and the HEBs of the world. They also are invested in helping solve this problem. So just, you know, I did want to be clear on that. One of the other questions that we've heard before too was about the roles that y'all play, and how, you know, SA Digital Connects has done a great job in making sure that there's awareness on this issue and keep pushing on this issue. And I'm going to open up this offer to you all. If you all want to join us in working with the council members and working with the county commissioners, shoot me a note. I'd love, you know, I don't want to be just that noisy wheel, because again, it's all of us, and it's all of us doing it together. We're going to have, like I mentioned earlier, some upcoming meetings with our council members and county commissioners. If y'all want to partner and sit in with me on those, I'd love to have you all, you know, because you all, and all of us in different ways are so close to the stories, and you all can articulate the stories in different ways than I can. I learned so much from our time together. You know, when we sat on a panel the other day with the older adults, and, you know, they were telling me how internet connectivity is, you know, almost a matter of life and death for them, right? Because they don't want to go into the stores, because they don't want to catch COVID. And so they need to do online grocery shopping and stuff. And I was just like, wow, you know, and you all make the story come to life. So again, drop me a note and say, I would love, you know, for me or my organization to attend those meetings with you all, and we'll make it happen, because, you know, I can't stress enough, this is going to take all of us. All right, let me see. Michelle, did you have any questions on your end?
Let's see. So one of the questions was from Lauren. And as a private technology firm, how can we support the digital connectivity efforts?
Awesome. As a private technology firm, you know, so I would say there's a couple of ways, not fully knowing the scope of the private technology firm. One, if it's private sector and they want to continue to have awareness on this, obviously, you know, become one of our partners. It's great to see. I will say that, you know, I think all of us know this, when you have your private sector partners rally together at the state level, at the local level, you know, it helps get stuff done, right? And so that would be super helpful. If there's digital inclusion services that you all are offering, such as maybe refurbished devices or free Wi-Fi or whatever, let us know about that too, so we can put that on there as well. All right, let's see. One of the other questions I'm seeing is, have we directly surveyed students and asked them what their needs and barriers are? We do have an education group and we have partnered with students like at the university level. I know we have a close partnership with UTSA, and I would say the resounding message we've gotten from them is, yeah, they have a laptop from school and then they go home and just cannot connect anyways, or they're having to use park or library Wi-Fi to do homework, and it's just cumbersome because then their parents have to take them, and I think that's if I had to summarize what we've heard from students, that's it. But if there's other feedback that we need to be incorporating, feel free to let us know. Another question I received is what was the feedback from the ISPs? Is there alignment, and is there incentive for the ISPs to generate competition? What are the next steps with ISPs? Great question. So again, we have, I will say, the relationship with the internet service providers, I think the easiest thing that comes to mind is it could be, there's a lot of love and hate, right? We're pushing them to help connect our community. I used to be in the private sector. I understand the private sector. And, sometimes I can understand maybe they don't like to be told what offering to make the 100 over 100 and has to be affordable and has to be, reliable and stuff. But we all know that that's what our community needs, and stuff. And so I always say that there's this messy middle, right? Obviously, the internet service providers are providing the service that we all need. And we are going to still be loud on pushing that it is fast, it is reliable, and it is affordable. We're going to have to meet in the middle, right? Because that is what our community it needs. And with the upcoming BEAD funding, to kind of get into some logistics, the eligibility for that chunk of the federal funding through the BEAD grant is geared towards internet service providers, because it's geared towards organizations that are going to be deploying and laying fiber. And so it has been a great thing that we have nurtured also a good relationship with them, because they have our census tracts. They know exactly which areas are not connected. And so how do we best work with them to connect those specific areas that need to be connected, versus taking that money and going out to rural Texas, and stuff. And so working hand in hand and closely with them, being transparent with them and saying, these are the gaps and these are the areas that need to be connected. I will say, we push on them a little bit or a lot. We have monthly standing meetings with the city, the county, and the major internet service providers. We're also talking to people about bringing in smaller dog internet service providers in the mix too. There's a lot of smaller internet service providers who want to play a role in connecting the city, and we're all ears, and making sure that they're included in the mix too. So as far as the next steps, I would say it's continuing to nurture our relationships, talking to them directly and saying, what is going to be y'all's strategy to get the BEAD funding? And again, our North Star is, how do we connect these households? Whether the money is going to be working, whether the BEAD funding is going to be working through the ISPs or the city and the county, our end game is still the same. It's connecting those households. And so, figuring out how do we navigate either working with internet service providers or the city or county to connect them. Those were the questions I had on my end. Michelle, I don't know if you have anything else, but
we have one from Dr. Gonzalez in the slide for partners. Couldn't see if the universities are participating, especially UT Health and UTSA. So if you just want to remind them that they are.
Yeah, of course. Yes, we have actually a great partnership with UTSA, and we actually just are going to be partnering with them on an upcoming lecture series. I think it's September 29th. And what they want to do is, I think it's called Digital Divide More Than Just Internet. And I'm giving y'all a total sneak peek because it hasn't come out yet, but we're so excited about it. And we are going to, SA Digital Connects is working with a family, having someone on the panel whose day-to-day life doesn't have she doesn't have internet, so she can tell her firsthand narrative of what that's like. There's also going to be a private sector panelist and someone, a UTSA professor on there. And, a lot of it, and honestly, I will say a lot of my work in working with the private sector is reminding people how hard it is to not have internet and to have unreliable internet, and just to raise that awareness that so much of our community is currently living like that, because look at all of us, we're on Zoom, we're all very highly connected. And sometimes it takes a little while to just get them out of that mindset and paint the picture of the reality for so many people in our community, and saying, hey, we cannot leave people behind. And we can also not settle for people having internet on their cell phone and check, right? We need to have internet in households, because if one person has internet on their cell phone and they leave the house, guess what? That household is still not connected, and stuff. So we just need to, be pushing on that together. We are also talking to UTSA potentially about like a student campaign to test the speed test and that kind of stuff, and working with all universities on that. So yes, plugged in with them. Let's see. There's a question for you, Councilwoman. Thank you for still staying on. So the question is, why are internet service providers limited to where they serve? Example, in my neighborhood, we have Spectrum and AT&T. Google is laying fiber now, but the GVTC office is about a mile away, but they can serve here. Is the community gerrymandered in some kind of way where they make service providers exclusive? I have an answer for that, but Councilwoman, if you have something to say on that, let me know.
So you can start, Marina, and I'll chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah, really what I have seen is in talking to the internet service providers, because a lot of it says, sorry, GVTC cannot serve here. A lot of the internet service providers, sometimes there's, in a lot of the area, there might be only one, and they provide really high prices, so it's not feasible for so many of that community to afford that internet. But when we have talked to them and asked them, some of these questions, like, why are you here? Why are you not here? Why aren't more of you all here on the west side or wherever, south side? A lot of it just comes to their business economics, and they're saying, hey, you know what, there's just not the density that we need here to make the economics work for them as a business decision. Maybe the speeds for them to serve those speeds, or the high costlier internet plans. I will just simplify it and say it comes down to them for a lot of business reasons. And again, they're businesses, and they have to make these business decisions. So that's what I've seen. I haven't necessarily seen it gerrymandered one way or the other.
And Marina, then I'll step in now and thank you. And a lot of the same thing is happening with different, I guess, with different industries, if you will. And so the South Side realistically has never been invested in. And so we still have a large portion that's highly rural. So like I mentioned, districts 3 and 4, we don't have infrastructure. By the way, we still have septic tanks in some of our areas. And I don't think that people have realized this. So for a long time, people have not thought that there was an investment opportunity in the South Side because the numbers would not work out. So it goes back to their business model. It goes back to the fact that the folks who are there cannot afford it, right? So they're going to cater to the masses first. One of the things that when I first got on council 3 years ago, I had a meeting with someone who said, oh yeah, nobody's ever going to develop on the South Side. It's just not feasible. So you just kind of need to stop, right? And so, and now we look at something like, for instance, Port San Antonio that's investing. We look at some of the developers that are saying, you know what, you should be investing. The fact is that our infrastructure isn't even there. So absolutely, they have to put in some additional money, some additional, I mean, it's just an overall investment that there has not been, I think, enough of a value proposition for them to be vested and to say, you know what, we do need to come out to these communities and we do have an opportunity for growth. And I don't know, that kind of piggybacks off of what Marina was saying, right? And so the reality is that, by the way, the only way that you can grow right now in San Antonio happens to be the South Side. So we're just so far behind. We lack a lot of things, and people are finally starting to see, unfortunately, what COVID did, right, was make everybody realize that connectivity is important, that high-speed internet is important, that we can't leave people behind anymore. And that's exactly why I keep referring to it as digital redlining. So we used to redline in terms of housing. We used to redline in terms of, by the way, there's no hospitals. There's maybe 2 hospitals that service all of South Texas, it seems like, right, for some time. And so it's the same investment mentality. There was no need to invest in the South Side for a really long time. But I'm not going to get on my soapbox. I could go out, but whoever asked that question, I would love to have a conversation with you. So maybe you send me a message. I'd love to maybe set up a meeting and maybe show you some really scary maps, by the way. But thank you, Marina. Sorry.
And I thank you for mentioning that. I will also say, yesterday I attended a greater SATX meeting, and we're talking about now anyone can work from anywhere, right? And to the councilwoman's point about, where to grow is the South Side, so we have to get people connected there, because when people are looking for houses, when we're talking to the developer community, they're saying the first thing they're asking is, what is the internet quality like, and so if they're making those housing decisions, the South Side needs to be connected so that they can build further there. There was a follow-up question, 2 more, these last 2 questions, and then we'll wrap up, because I do want to be respectful of time. So the follow-up question was, but if we drive ACP sign up, will it be worthwhile for them to expand their fiber reach? Absolutely. And again, ACP just came out a couple of months ago. It replaced the emergency broadband benefit. But, and I think that you're hitting on something where we are seeing our internet service providers really become partners with us. They know that there's the subsidy. They know they can make the economics work. And so they are working with and answering, to the cities and counties RFP once it does come out. And so, now there has become a good, solid, strong partnership in saying, how are we all going to connect the households that need to be connected? And also too, by the way, not just have an exclusive service provider in one area or not, competition is a good thing, and how what's going to be that mix and match for everyone to play a role. Finally, the last one was, is there an update on how the city plans to spend the remaining 6.9 in ARPA for broadband? So that was just discussed at the Economic Development and Workforce Committee meeting last Thursday or Friday. And so there hasn't been a vote or anything on it. The suggestion during the presentation was, we have this RFP coming out. Could those 6.9 million be used towards connecting a community? Like, let's get a pilot going, could we use it to get some a match going with the internet service providers? Again, I'm want to be transparent. There has not been a specific decision. However, that was a lot of the general discussion at the last EDWC. Brian, Councilwoman, if y'all want to add, feel free to. Other than that, we're at past time, but thank you all so much for attending. We're so happy to spend this time with you all. Next time, let's do less talking, and we can make it a little bit more interactive. But thank you again, and you all have my contact information. I'm here to support you all too. So let me know if you need anything. Thanks.